Dear Watcher. Sam's here, and I'm wrapped in another blanket and just cuddling in for some reading. My library must really like me because two books that I've been wanting to read for a long time. I'm a big horror fan, so I'm moving back to my horror books. I've read a lot of sort of fluffy stuff and some romances, which are great, and they've been a lot of fun, but I'm ready to dive back into some scary stuff. So 2 library books came in. One came in yesterday, and it was The Wilder Girls by Rory, which is going to be like a body horror type. I've already started it. I'll get to that in a minute. Really excited about that one. And the other one that came in the very next day, I uploaded the files this morning, and that is Nick Cutter's The Troop. Both of these I know are body horror, and I want something that's going to make me creeped out. I'm really excited. Also, today, Audible's daily deal was The Wilder Girls, so I did pick that up on audio for $3. So, yay! I'm about a quarter of the way through Wilder Girls. I just started chapter 5. The initial vibes I got from it was Annihilation and Cabin in the Woods. So it's a group of girls ranging in age from about 13, because kids are coming into puberty, and this seems to the tox is the disease that they have, like toxic tox. They don't know what it is or why it's affecting them or why it's only this island that this girls' school is on, and it ravages their bodies in different ways. Everyone seems to have a different ailment or different versions of a similar ailment, and everyone sort of is now grouped off into their tribes, into their cliques. They sort of become very tribal. And the Navy will drop off food and clothes and stuff like that to a pier, and then their boat shift girls will go get it, bring it back. The first girl's perspective that we have, I don't know if it shifts perspective yet, but I'm assuming it does because the very first page is a name. So we're looking at everything from Hetty's point of view and her 2 friends, Reese and Byatt. Byatt and Hetty are best friends. Reese is one of their best friends, but she's a little more on the outskirts. She's a little more angry also because her father was a groundskeeper, and he lived on a cabin outside of the perimeter of the school, and then he got the tox as well, ended up getting really bad for him, and he left. And now Reese has been trying to find a way to get out into the woods to find him. She doesn't get that chance. It is a YA. I saw this grouped in a YA fantasy. I don't know if that's correct, but I don't know. Authors are doing some really cool things, genre bending, genre crossover stuff. So, I mean, you could probably put it in several places. Barnes & Noble doesn't even have a horror section anymore. I noticed this a couple years ago. There's no horror section. It's all under suspense thriller. And I wonder why. I want to know why. Why, like, horror is just as valid a genre as anything else. So do we not have YA horror? Do we not have adult horror? Do we not have literary horror? I mean, it's all valid. So that kind of irritates me. But anyway, I'm going to continue on with Wilder Girls, and then right after, I'm going to start The Troop by Nick Cutter, and I just kind of want to see back to back. So we've got a group of girls and a group of boys. So we'll see how they handle, their respective diseases and how it ravages their body, and if I get the creepy crawlies from it, because that's what I'm looking for right now. I'll let you know. And we have the sleeping puppy. She's not a puppy anymore. She's 5 years old, but we still call her the pup. We went for a walk, and now she's all tuckered out. Ah! And the other one is down here. Is my old girl. She's sleeping. She's sleeping with her face in front of the box. Okay. Anyway, I've been doing some reading. I was right. It does change perspective. So then we had a perspective from Byatt, who is now sort of captured. She's with doctors. She doesn't really know what's going on. There's the Rax 009 that the same thing that Hetty found earlier. I almost called her Hyatt. Oh my gosh. Relationship name Hyatt, because they're Byatt and Hetty. Ha! So what's going on now is it's a pill, and the doctor made Byatt take that pill. Don't really know what it's doing to her. I can picture Byatt's deformity because of the disease, because of the tox, and she's got like these spines, like she created like a second spine essentially, and it's like just needles coming out of her spine like bone, and I'm just It reminds me of a mix of Annihilation and Cabin Fever. And another thing it reminds me of is a board game, Dead of Winter, and it's a zombie survival game, and I have it right over there. But it's really heavy, and I'm lazy, and I'm playing a game as well as listening to an audiobook, so I'm not gonna go get it. But it's a really great game, and one of the like super sort of higher level ways to play the game. It's got really great replayability, but you add in a company that has created the zombies in Wilder Girls. They're on Raxton Island, and it's the Raxton School for Girls. The vial that Hetty found is Rax-009. The board game company is called Raxxon, Raxxon. So it just is giving me the zombie, zombie vibes because of Raxxon, and it just lots of Rax. I guess that's the beginning of an evil corporation name. So if you ever want one or need to think of one, always start with RAX. She's sulking because I'm working and we can't go play. So I just got off a very long conference call, and I'm about to go make my lunch and eat, but I'm gonna read while I do it. What I notice a lot of people do is they'll have the audiobook and the physical copy or an ebook, and they'll read them together. I've never done that before, never even thought to. So I was like, hey, let's give it a shot, since it came in my library as the ebook, and it was an Audible daily deal. So I picked up the audiobook for $3, and I was like, cool. I kind of liked reading it and listening to it at the same time. It does switch perspectives. Byatt's chapters I did not like listening to. It was just the way the narrator was reading it. It was just short, choppy, staccato-ish, and it didn't jive with me. I liked reading her chapters better. Hetty's chapters I liked listening to. So it just kind of went back and forth. Now here's my favorite thing, and I'm learning new things. So I open up my Audible app. I read like a chapter and a half, and here we go. When I hit play, it's gonna pick up.
You mean you never thought it
picking up where I left off?
Recess?
Exactly. And I didn't know that it did that, because I didn't know this edition of the Kindle Paperwhite did that and synced together. So I'm just a dork, and I'm happy about that. Okay. So I finished The Wilder Girls. I have filmed this portion once already, and I just didn't like it. I forgot to talk about a couple things that I wanted to hit on, and I just figured, let's do it again. Let's put my thoughts into some notes, so maybe I just do that. Let's be professional. I finished Wilder Girls. I am disappointed. I gave it a 2 stars on Goodreads. Really, it's like a 2.5. It was okay. It was an okay book. The first quarter of the book I was into. I was really intrigued. There's going to be spoilers in this section, so fast forward if you don't want to know spoilers about Wilder Girls. There is a slight romance in this book that just felt kind of shoehorned in. The story would have been the same without it. Like if they were just best friends, it would have been the same without it. Though I did like who Reese ended up having a crush on. I thought at first that Reese had a crush on Byatt when Reese had a crush on Hetty. Now, Reese and Byatt are best friends, as well as Hetty and Byatt. Reese and Hetty haven't really connected on that level, but they do like each other. So I liked who the other one liked. But Reese knows a very different Byatt. Byatt is a very manipulative, sort of a sociopathic character that you hear a little bit about later. That's not dove into at all in depth by the author. So I was a little disappointed by that. Reese knows a very different Byatt than Hetty does, and I thought that was very interesting. Could have done a lot with it, but didn't. I also felt that Byatt's chapters were far more interesting than Hetty's. I have the book from my library, and I picked it up for sale on Goodreads, so I'm going to listen to it and then swap back and forth. Like I was doing dishes and I was listening to an audio, then I went back to my wonderful couch and just chilled and read the book. So I liked that I could switch back and forth. I liked reading Byatt's chapters better than listening to them. I liked listening to Hetty's chapters better than reading them, which I thought was kind of interesting. But Byatt's chapters were far more interesting. She was taken off the island. She was talking to doctors, going to be experimented on. Everything is so surface level. There is just nothing in depth that they go into. The author just didn't go far enough, in my opinion. I get that this is a YA, but that doesn't mean it can't be dark. It doesn't mean it can't go further. It doesn't mean it can't push those boundaries. There was no pushing. It was really surface level. And I felt very cheated from the horror and the science and sort of the aspects that I was expecting. The author also seemed to not know where to go with this. So once she sort of hit a wall, it was like, oh, well, our study's done. We got to pack up and go. We're evacuating, kill all the subjects. And then that was it. Nothing is explored. We don't know what the doctors were studying. We don't know what their goal was. Miss Welch was throwing food over the side to not bring back to the girls on the island because the food is off. So the reason she gives is because, you know, our immune systems are so compromised anyway. Do we want bad food that's going to make us even sicker? Okay. But the food has chemicals in it, has experimental drugs in it, or, you know, it's implied that the scientists are putting stuff in the food. So Welch has been tossing it over. We don't know what those experiments are intended. We don't know what Welch knows. She just kills herself. Okay, we again find out nothing, and there's nothing deeper happening. What was she protecting them from? We'll never know. This has been heralded as the feminist Lord of the Flies. Now, reading an interview with the author at the end of the book, it doesn't seem that she is, you know, really taking in that moniker and being like, yes, this is what it is. It doesn't seem that way, at least from the portion that I read. It's other people saying this. Now, just because your book features women, girls, the feminist or the feminine persuasion does not inherently make it feminist. There was nothing feminist about this. They're women, they're girls, and they're surviving. Survival is very human. It's not inherently feminist. And so I don't understand how this is the feminist version of anything. It's a book that's featuring women that is surviving this horrible ordeal. It doesn't mean it's feminist. The characters also make wild leaps and guesses and inferences, and it's just very convenient. Like, Hetty knows Byatt so much that she knows exactly what she's thinking, knows exactly where she is. Reese and Hetty escape the island, and she's like, oh, she's at this facility here on another island. They have like a community center for Raxter. And she's at the community center. I know it. That's just where she is. I know it. And then they find her room, and there's the worm on the floor that Hetty pulls out, or that Byatt pulls out of her arm. And Hetty's just, oh, she did this. She did this to herself. I just know it. And then it's all correct. And then they find her. I'll get to that in a second. As someone who likes to write ambiguous endings myself, I don't mind ambiguous endings. I don't mind speculating, like, what happened next? Ooh, I wonder. This is what I hope happened to them. But you can be too ambiguous. You can be too vague. And this ending was just an ocean of vague. Like, they're out there on the sea, and you don't know what happens to them. Again, you don't know what this thing is. It's a parasite, but you don't know what it's from, what the doctors were looking for, how they were going to cure it. You don't even get an idea of what the doctors think it is. It's so on the surface. It didn't give me the chills I was looking for. It didn't give me, there were a couple scenes that I was kind of like, which was great. So there's definitely potential. And this is probably the biggest spoiler. And the part that made me the most angry, this is what brought it down from like a 3 to a 2.52 for me. Fucking Byatt lived. Byatt lives. No. Wrong. You presumably killed all the girls on the island. All the girls. The teachers are dead. You killed everybody but these 3 characters. But you couldn't go that one step further and kill Byatt and have any sort of emotional impact in this? Now, granted, Byatt's sort of a shell of herself, so is she really alive? Is she really living? Whatever. She lived. She should be dead. Anyway. I'm moving on to the troop. Just really quick, I hit play on the troop, and the very first thing is a quote from Lord of the Flies, so I thought that was funny. Spoilers for the first like half of the book. I, as you can see in the time lapse, am really into it. I'm gonna try to finish it today. I am listening to it on audio, and I listen to usually 1.5 speed. I actually slowed this down to 1.25. I think the author does a great job, and I just really want to like get into it. So I'm listening to this one at a slower pace than I usually do, and I think it's a great sign for the book that I'm doing that. Sorry if I shifted. I was adjusting my tripod on my desk. I've switched angles for various reasons. I'm still trying to figure out like the best place to be and do this stuff in here, so you'll probably see it change often. But just wanted to kind of go over a few notes. There's a lot of tension here, and that's exactly what I was looking for in the Wilder Girls that I did not get, and I'm really happy that I'm getting the creeps and, you know, the creeps and the sweeps and the points if you know that reference. But I'm excited, and it's creepy. The boys, the troops are very, I feel, real. The troops are very realistic. What did I write down here? Their banter is really funny. It feels like something kids would actually say. Hell, it's some of the things my friends and I talk about now. Like, my boyfriend and I had a very in-depth conversation about the zombie apocalypse and how we would survive it. I just like unromanticized discussion about survival and romanticized some of the funny stuff, you know, like, man, I'm gonna kill everyone, blah, 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 shoot to the head. Man, I'll kill all the zombies. So, but we had like actual discussions of, if I turn, just kill me because it's not me anymore. So, oh my gosh. So it feels real. It feels pretty real, and I enjoy that. Something that kind of bugs me in media is this crazy notion that the military is just blind loyalty, which it's not. There are regulations and protections to protect soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines against unlawful orders and inappropriate orders. It's just that stereotype that's the only thing that's really bugged me so far or one of the rules is like, I'll follow the scout leader without question. And that's never a good thing. You should always be able to question authority. You should always be able to question the people around you. Do it in a non-dick way, but yeah, if someone does not allow for them to be questioned, like, that's not a good leader. Leaders should also be good followers. If you can't follow, you can't lead. If you can't listen to other people, like, that's all that, you know, that's just my belief with it. If you're not a good follower, usually you're not an effective leader. Anyway, off my soapbox. There are a couple sentences that I actually did end up highlighting as one of my favorite quotes that I've so far. So I'm just going to read it off my screen here. There is an emotion that operates on a register above sheer terror. It lives in a mindless dog whistle frequency. Its existence in itself is a horrifying discovery, like scanning a shortwave radio in the dead of night and tuning into an alien wavelength. A heavy whisper barely climbing above the static, voices muttering in a brutal language that human tongues could never speak. I like that depiction of fear, of seeing it as like a frequency and a register that is just like higher than a human can feasibly feel. And when you're pushed to that level of fear, it's totally new and it's just debilitating. So I felt it. And that's what I got for you so far. I'll let you know when I finish and give you some final thoughts.
Shelley smiled, a knowing expression.
So I finished The Troop yesterday. Loved it. It was so good. It was exactly what I wanted, and it was what I really wanted from the Wilder Girls. I loved the perspective of the scientists, and you learn what's happening. You know what's going on. Now it's one of those things where it's like, I've seen this movie before, so it got a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads for me. I really enjoyed it. It did get a tiny bit repetitive, but it was okay. There were moments I was like, oh, I need to take a minute and just process what I just read. And it was great. It was a good time. Like I said, exactly what I wanted. And that is that for the 2 body horror books. Let me know what you think of Wilder Girls and The Troop. Did you like Wilder Girls better? Do you like The Troop better? Did you hate both? Did you love both? Until next time.